What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Connected to the Web, my podcast. I'm your host, Joe Webb. We're recording this episode on Easter weekend. I actually had some time with the family over the weekend, been doing a lot of hustle and bustle. So I'm releasing this episode on Monday, April 21st, which is significant. I did not realize it would be instead of the Friday episodes that I usually use because, unfortunately, our first topic for today is that the Pope has passed away. That can be a really tough thing for some people who are really rooted in the Catholic faith, but for those that don't really have a huge connection to Catholicism or the Vatican or the Pope, it's just you got to realize that that's one of the few people that can influence the entire world over the way that they are. This is an interesting Pope, actually. I don't know if you know a whole lot about him, but it was the first Latino Pope, which was a huge step forward for the church. But it was also the first Jesuit, and that loosely, without giving a religious lesson, that means that he had made some commitments to God in his religious study that they were very strict with. And one of those, which I thought interesting when I was doing some research this morning, is that he had a vow of poverty. He did not keep a lot of personal belongings. I thought that was interesting. I didn't really know a whole lot about that. So, not an expert on the subject, but I thought I would just bring that up. And I caught it because as one of the news channels was covering his passing, just having a conversation with the other interviewer, they were discussing about kind of what the protocol is the next couple of days on the 9 days of mourning. And one of the interviewers said, they're going to be a time to clean out his belongings and kind of clean up that room for the next pope whenever they are elected to be brought in. And then they talked about that vow of poverty, which I thought was really interesting. So it's kind of neat. Just thought I'd talk about that. The Pope dying is not neat. It's neat to hear about those cool things that I didn't really know about. And as a 44-year-old man now, 2 weeks after my birthday, it's just cool to see those reactions all over the world with so much respect and reverence for that person and that faith, obviously. So sorry to hear the Pope had passed, but if we recorded this episode on Friday, then wouldn't have had that information. So it's just something different that I thought I'd bring up. So I've got two kind of topics that I want to talk about. One of them is about my Easter weekend experience, which was just so cool having with my family. On Saturday, went to my mom's house, which is local. For those of you that know her, she's been really sick with her COPD symptoms as a result of a respiratory infection she got. But she's been fantastic. She is on top of the world right now, and she was able to actually host Easter. So that was a pretty big deal. On Saturday, was to spend some time with my siblings and my family. But on Sunday, went out to Walkersville, which is a Frederick suburb, with my mother-in-law and my stepfather-in-law, and had a fantastic time there. So a lot of family time this weekend. Definitely having my family, my love meter filled back up. But something really interesting I wanted to share with you. So I went to a Easter service on Saturday with my mother and stepfather at Mountain Christian off of 152. And if you know anything about a church service, if you're not somebody who goes, there's usually some sort of consistent itinerary. In the Catholic Church, they call it a ritual. The same thing's done every time. And even on the holidays, that order of things are kind of taken. And one of the things that is consistent with this church, because I've been there a couple times with my parents, are that the pastor does give some sort of monologue. Again, in the Catholic Church, they call that a homily. And I just know that because my kids and my wife are Catholic. I'm not. a Methodist. But we were at this non-denominational church, and we were listening to this service. It was amazing. Actually got to watch a couple people get baptized in the large pool of water. Never did that before. That was pretty neat. And congratulations to those people. It was a special moment for them. But the pastor gave the monologue and really said some powerful things. And I try to find something I can relate to pretty much every church service I go to, because I know that they're trying to reach out to the community, get a message across. I don't know the Bible that well, but when they tie it to a Bible verse, it's interesting to me. But something he was talking about was pretty special. Now, the lesson was Easter, resurrection of Christ, and it was about a conversation about having intimacy with God and your faith. But he gave an example that I thought was really powerful to everyone in the audience. It affected me. Is that he says a phrase: proximity is not intimacy. So what does that mean? So his example was a married couple who love each other, had raised kids, raised a family, and they've been together for a very long time, but they just slowly started to kind of grow apart. And he made a statement about they sit at the same dinner table and their feet kind of touch at the dinner table, but they still do not have a level of intimacy where they are close enough that they should be. It was just an example, but that struck me as pretty significant, and it's something I wanted to share with you guys because I think in any marriage, for it to last a long time, there are going to be ebbs and flows, ups and downs, good and bad, forever for worse, as most vows have at some point. And I just thought that was really special that he was trying to make a comparison to how you can be in a house of God or be around God. For that, for that church, it was also being around Christ and the lessons, but it doesn't mean you have an intimate level of knowledge with them or close connection. And they were trying to teach that lesson. But for those of you that may have a faith journey similar to that or not, however, you are married, just think about that. And we've also started to have conversations on this podcast about mental health. And I'm going to keep coming back to it because I don't want that conversation to go away. And just think about that same idea. Proximity is not intimacy. So, as a parent, I believe we should have a certain level of closeness with our children that is not necessarily violating their bubble. At the same time, you can't give them too much privacy because that's where things can be born that are not good for your children's mental health. And if things are learned or acquired or picked up and you don't catch them because you're not close enough, then again, we've talked about how things can happen. Next week's guest is Live for Thomas, a amazing foundation which was risen out of tragedy, excuse me, and I'll share that with you. But just think about that. It's a relationship you have as a parent or the relationship you have as a spouse. You can be close without being intimate. It's a weird word to use. That word is kind of tough. And I use it actually in business when I talk to people in my world about, I think that business is losing that professional intimacy. It's something that I talk about a lot. And it just means that closeness. You can do business with someone, appreciate the service that you are paying for and being provided, and generally have a good experience in that service. But I think right now, especially in my business, it's just missing that personal touch, that business intimacy. But in this case, intimacy with an adult child or a teenage child or a young child is going to be that level of closeness and that bond between you that kind of supersedes the fact that you are simply a caretaker. So I thought that was pretty powerful, and I just wanted to talk about that because it kind of struck me. I'm sitting in this church and I had pews, it had seats, and I really kind of felt that. I got the feels, as the young kids say these days, but it was pretty special to me. And I'll just ask you guys that if you felt some experience where you realized you were close to a member of your family, but you did not have a level of intimacy that you wanted or needed, especially with a spouse. I just challenge you to go at that head on and try to create that moment for yourself. What's wrong with that? If you're not as close to your teenage child as you want to be, just take them out for a coffee, take them out for a drink. I don't mean alcoholic drink, but go get a hot chocolate or energy drink at Wawa or something, and just be together. Sit in the car and have a conversation. Let them know how that you're there for them. Or as the lesson was giving an example, which what struck me, being married since 2007, 8/11/07. I have to remember that. It's been a long time, 15 years. Being married that long, I know that, just because we have kids, when we're going through all the hustle and bustle, and I've talked about my spring sports schedule, that sometimes you just can't be close. You can't be intimate with your partner. And that word is so much more than physical intimacy or your sexual activity as a couple. It can just be a touch on the back, touch on the hand, a hug, a kiss on the cheek, just looking each other's eyes. It's just hard to do that when you have kids and you're a constant mom Uber or a dad Uber. We joke around and call them Duber and Moober. And you're just running around in circles and the schedule, next, work, eat, sports, work, eat, sports. But I just think it's really special to have a conversation about taking a moment, recognizing that there's some work that needs to be done, and then trying to create that gap a little smaller. So I think that's pretty cool, and I wanted to bring that to you guys. I need your help with something before I let you go today. I am having some really significant guests, and I'm really enjoying some people that I've pre-recorded. I can't wait to share them with you guys. Next week is my first podcast with two guests at once, so you'll get to see some different camera angles. But I need to know what you guys think. I'd love to have your comments in the comment section, or shoot me a direct message or a text message if you know me. Um, I have so many guests at this point that I'm getting concerned that my guests are waiting too long to be put onto the podcast. So, my idea with having a solo episode and a guest episode is that I can pre record and edit some of my guests ahead of time. And then basically, every two guests is a month of production value, because this is not my day job. My day job is helping people get loans for home financing, whether it's refinancing or purchasing. And I'm sure most of you guys know that. If you don't, I'll have commercials coming later. But I just want to know what you guys think. Do you think that I should go weekly with a guest and sprinkle in solo episodes? I would love to know your feedback. This is kind of market research. I do not know what the answer is going to be, and I have not made a decision yet, but I'd love your feedback on any kind of direction you're leaning. So please, if you could, I just feel bad when I have a guest on and I tell them that it's going to be 4 or 5 weeks, and then it ends up being 6 or 7, maybe even 8 weeks. I have a guest in mid-February that I'm releasing next week. The two ladies that work for Live for Thomas, and I had a friend of mine that has two coffee shops in Baltimore that I already recorded end of February, early March. I'm just going to be getting them out now. So does that matter? Am I overthinking it? Let me know. I'd love to hear your comments. But anyway, I hope you guys all had a great Easter weekend. I appreciate you giving me some time, and I look forward to seeing you all. Today is Monday, the 21st of April. I will be releasing the guest episode on Friday, and I hope you enjoy it. It's a really special one to me. It deals with mental health and teen suicide, again, from another perspective other than my amazing guest, Christian. So hope to see you guys online. Thank you for your time you've given me so far. Have a wonderful day. Happy belated Easter, and I'll see you guys soon. Thank you for being connected to the web and joining me.